were pretty much the same body styles up until maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, and we wanted to upgrade and kind of bring it into the modern era. So we did the modern style Camaros and Mustangs, and we did the Challenger, and of course I did the Cadillac then too. Mm-hmm. So it just sort of brought us into the modern day looking cars, you know, but the Trans Am cars, the Camaros, boy, they yeah, here we go.
So here we go then to start our Group 10 GTs at a roar past our commentary position. Kerry Hitt bringing you some color commentary here for some very familiar cars out there, as there always are, as they all dive into turn one. And a good clean start, which is what we want. Through goes the 21 of Mark Sharon in that Weaver Racing Concepts Dodge. And Poncho Weaver here today, as always. I say as always, not always here, but he's got running Boris Said again. So just as Kerry was pointing out, this sort of dynasty of Trans Am and sports car racing here in America, it seems that the more it changes, the more it stays the same.
Yes, true. Well, now NASCAR is going to be running road racing, so it's going to be
yeah.
I think it has come time that people are going to. They love the road racing because there's a lot of action, but they couldn't see the course. But with the Rovals and the grandstands, it's going to put a whole new different spin on it, I would say.
Yeah, and also I think the willingness for NASCAR to be brave enough to go to a COTA, to go to places that aren't what I would call, you know, they're not Bristol, it's not Dover, it's not places that, you know, are NASCAR country, as we call it.
Yep.
But they're taking risks like that. They went to LA of all places,
oh, yeah.
And everybody went, what are they doing on that tiny track? And I said, well, this is kind of how it all started, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, the short tracks.
So away we go then. Dylan McIvern, a very famous name, and continuing that dynasty. He'll be racing later on as well in TA2, but he's out here in Historics, just getting his eye in Group 10 in a Ford Mustang. And Bob Nearpole, he's already been out as well. He's in a Porsche 911 GT3. Is it hard to adjust to a modern, let's say, GT3 Porsche car with all the gizmos compared to a Trans Am?
You know, I don't know because I've never done that. But I hear people... well,
let me put it a better way, or a different way.
Yeah.
Why did you choose this kind of racing rather than going into necessarily production or IMSA-based racing?
Well, I love the challenge of being able to build a car.
Yep.
And you can get, I mean, you literally build a car from a pile of tubing all the way up to the finished car.
Yep.
So I always have. So that's probably the reason why I've done that. I say I always have. I started out running production. I ran B-production for a number of years, and that was a Corvette. That was a 67 Corvette Coupe, and that was a stock chassis car, you know. But when they went to the tube frame cars, then of course those old chassis cars weren't competitive anymore, and those are the cars that you're going to see here at SVRA. I mean, to come out, I tell people to come out and watch SVRA because you really get to see all of the old cars and all the cool cars.
Yeah, it's history of movement, isn't it? It's history of motion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's interesting enough. There you see the Camaro and the Challenger. The Challenger, of course, is the new Weaver Concepts car, and but they're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Underneath, they look pretty much the same. Bob Riley, who was kind of the father of the modern day Trans Am chassis, they started out and they did a car, and his comment was they make changes by evolution, not by revolution.
Yeah.
So they make little itty bitty changes, and those cars really could be, with a little bit of work, could be upgraded, put a new body on it, and run competitively in the Trans Am, which I'd love to see happen, because we could use more cars out there in TA2.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
We're just looking at Phil Lasco in the red, black, and blue Ford Mustang, that circulating in, well, he qualified in 5th place. And that 2016 car as the leader come through, that's Dylan. And this is the gap he's already built up in the first couple of minutes over the second place car of Jonathan DeGainer.
That's Frank Cappuccini, isn't it? I think.
Yes, in third place. Yes, it is.
Now that car right there, I'm not sure if that is one of the Corvettes that were run back in the Trans Am day. I don't know it, but it's the same body. It's the body style that they used back then. So I would imagine it's a tube frame chassis, and Speedway Engineering built those cars, and I don't know, as I said, if that's a Speedway chassis or not.
Mm-hmm.
But David Hobbs, I think, won the championship in that. I'm trying to think of the other. There was another driver. They were quick. They were very quick cars.
Yes, David Hobbs will be going up to Hobbs Country, Road America, very soon in the summer.
Does he live up there? Is that?
Yeah, he spends a lot of time up in Wisconsin. Yeah,
that's a beautiful area in the summer, but boy, it's cold in the winter.
Oh yeah, could do without it in the winter.
Yeah.
So we're looking at
It's the Oldsmobile.
yeah. Through comes the 7A in what currently 8th position. That's Charles Wicht in the Porsche GT3 Cup car.
I bought Charles Wick's old Corvette and turned it into the Camaro. That's the Camaro that we have. There's an example of taking an old body and putting a new body on and still using the same chassis. It's a Rocket Sports chassis.
Well, those that didn't hear you yesterday, you know your bodies because you are, well, pretty much the main reason our cars in Trans Am look like they do, because you basically design and put together the bodies for the composite design and bodies of the cars, right?
Yeah, we kind of developed the process. We developed all of the bodies on computer, and then I have a 5-axis router with a 10-foot by 10-foot base that cuts out the body pieces, and so finally we've got the left side and the right side of the car exactly the same. Back in the old days, it would take 8 months to be able to build a pattern, and it would really be time-consuming to get one side as close as you could to the other side, but never really quite. Now we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks to be able to do that, and they come out perfect. So we're looking at trying to add, possibly add another car. We looked at the Toyota. We have a lot of interest in that. So the more manufacturers we get involved in Trans Am, I think the better it'll be.
And are you itching to innovate in any other way? You mentioned that to see some more cars. We've just seen the next gen NASCAR come out on display at the 500. I'm sure you watch with much interest, and Poncho Weaver, of course, had a part in that with his group technique. But what would you like to see for Trans Am next in terms of maybe not redesigning, but maybe changing some of the silhouettes?
Well, Aaron Caldwell, as the tech director, has been doing a really good job in kind of adding things. We've done a lot to these cars with aero.
Yeah.
And this year, wow, we really got a little bit more. I mean, it started out, we got the tunnel under trays, went from flat under trays to the tunnel under trays, which gave us more front downforce. And we kind of build up on that. Then last year, we were allowed to put the dive planes in the front, and that helped quite a bit. Then we added a little bit more splitter on the front, and that helped. And now he added, he calls them S-flaps, or they also call them gurney flaps. And it's a little bit of a wicker bill that is right in the very front of the front wheel well opening. So when the air comes across it, it trips the air, speeds it up, and creates a vacuum in the wheel well. It does two things. It pulls the air out, makes it actually brake-wise, it's cooler, it'll run cooler, and it also makes the tunnels work a lot better. And then he added the bigger sideboards in the wing. So these cars are aero pretty well, and they're putting out probably close to 1,200 pounds downforce in the front of the car. Oh yeah, it's amazing. Of course, every time you do something like that, then there's a new set of circumstances that you've got to resolve, and then it's keeping it from hitting the ground, but little by little they're getting it.
Ariel Wolfgang in the Porsche Cayman GT4 going through shot. We just saw John Cloud. I'm sure you're very familiar with his career and his abilities over the years.
With John
Cloud.
Yeah. I don't know him that well, but
you've raced him. Yeah, he's out there at the moment, and I'm just looking. He's in that Chevrolet Camaro TA2.
The TA2. Okay.
2020.
Yeah, that is. It looked like it had ECC colors, I believe.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So this field in Group 10 spreading out quite significantly with 8 minutes to go. I love watching this shot because you see them straight and then they break, and
Yep,
you see how
yep.
the car did. Michael Kern.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the older Trans Am Camaro bodies. Actually, that car looks like it's one with the wide 5 wheels. I get a better look at that. They had the center locks. They had some of the old chassis that were wide 5 wheels. What's interesting is back in the 80s, John Tomanis was tech director at the time. Yeah, that's a wide 5. They came up.
Explain what you mean by that.
Okay, the old Fords had a great big hub, and the wheel was more of a rim, and the center of the wheel was kind of the hub, and it had 5 bolts that hold it on. Okay, and they were really big in racing. They're light. When this formula that SCCA came out with for the Trans Am was pretty much the way they've gone with the TA2 cars.
Right.
They had basically stock car chassis and stock car components, and they were trying to keep the costs down. Oh,
well, that's
I hate when that happens. Yeah, I know.
The good thing is you can do the long loop.
Yes, yeah. Unless the brakes are on the floor. There it goes, right back. Yeah. That was not a shortcut, though.
No, not by any means.
Right, for sure. So anyway, the format was a tube frame chassis, kind of a stock car chassis, and then you could go with the wide 5 wheels, 515 wheels, and those rules were run for a little bit, and then they decided they were going to go with the square tube frame. Bob Riley came up with the first generation of the car that had the center lock wheels and followed the rules, but the idea of people that are building these things is you read the rules and stretch them as far as you can, and that kind of got stretched into what the cars are today.
Yeah, there's that John Cloud car just going through shot there.
Yep, I see that. Yep.
So at the moment, it's still Dylan McInvern. Some 4 seconds up the road from now second place, Frank Chiappatini. Is that the right way?
Cappuccini, yeah. Yeah. Frank's from New Jersey.
Chiappatini.
Huh? Cappuccini, yeah.
I like the paint scheme. Rouse Racing.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a modern livery on that, or if it's if that was back in they ran that same paint scheme on it.
Well, it's a 98 car, but yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Davison, Panos GTS. This is an interesting history, isn't it?
It sure is. Sure is. Had a tremendous amount of effort put into it, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always hard unless you're you're a Ford or a Camaro or whatever. It's very hard to go racing when you're not, you don't have that industry behind
right.
you. You're basically building a small amount of cars, enough to be homologated, but not necessarily making huge amounts of cars.
Yeah.
But some of the customers, some of the buyers really like that.
They did.
Like unique. I mean, that's what McLaren's doing
unique.
at the moment.
Oh yeah. Doing well at it too.
Very
for
well.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's a good car by all accounts.
Yeah.
Here is Dylan again.
Dylan's doing a good job.
A bit of a warm-up before his qualifying in TA2.
Yeah. Frank's hanging in there too.
Yep, he's not that far behind.
No, he's a good driver. Always a good driver. Yeah.
Phil Lasco in third position in the TA2 Mustang at the moment. And then Jeffrey Bernatovic in the Corvette, in the GT1 Corvette, is in fourth position. That car, a 1990 Corvette.
It'd be interesting to find out what the history is on that, if that is one of the Speedway engineering cars.
Yeah.
They had Camaros the year before that, then they came out with the Corvettes when the '84 Corvette came out. And They were good cars. I do like that paint job.
Yeah,
it's good.
it is
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It stands out, and the Ford logo, absolutely. Well, here comes your leader, and he's coming up on the panos rather quickly. I was saying earlier, if you're doing this kind of racing, it's almost more important to be aware, because with the different groups, the change of either braking or change of pace,
Yeah.
How quickly somebody can come up on you.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the leader like this now on the final lap. You really got to have your wits about you, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, though, that panos is basically underneath pretty much the same as what that, it's the same concept, two-frame chassis, as what the Mustang is, and the Camaro out there.
Was there ever a time when, I mean, the tube frame, obviously, it's synonymous, but could you mess with materials? Or did you?
About the only thing that they
I'm
did.
thinking more light, obviously, more lighter. The lighter, the lighter.
Yeah.
It's got to have the
Well,
strength.
Porsche did that. They had an aluminum cage, they had an aluminum chassis, and I can't recall her name, but there was a girl, really good driver, crashed hard with a Porsche, and the cage collapsed, and she was hurt.
Was it?
Who?
Ellen Lure?
It may have been her.
Yeah,
I think that's who it. Yeah, that does ring a bell.
I do remember that. Yeah.
And I think from that, the non-ferrous metal car chassis, what happens is the aluminum work hardens. So these chassis go through an incredible amount of cycles, during a lifetime, and then it becomes brittle, and then it'll break. So that's the bad thing about it.
So on his final lap, then, Dylan McAvern enjoying his day out before he gets to the serious business of his own championship. But it's great to have guys like him, and we've got some big names. Cameron Lawrence out there, or obviously Rafa Matos, Adam Andretti, and household names certainly in Trans Am. And it's great to have people like Paul Maynard and Boris said still running.
Still doing it. Yep.
Yeah, still doing it. And for that matter, Tommy Treacy and a few others. Simon Gregg, obviously, team managing this weekend. But, and yourself, of course.
Yeah, I'm just watching and talking. So, like I said, it takes the pain away from not driving.
There you go. So out of the last corner and to the checkered flag comes our leader, Dylan McAvern, to take the checkered flag, and does so in style. Almost lapping the entire field, but it doesn't matter. As long as he enjoyed it. And in a moment, we'll see Frank Ciappatini. And there's the Panos coming through shot.
Back in the day when they were running the car that Frank's driving, they ran 302s, I believe. So I don't know if he's running that engine or not. If it is, then the Mustang was outpowering him, which could be the reason there, because both cars look pretty good. They look like they were driving them very well.
So checker flag is out on our Group 10, their first race of 2 over the weekend. We've got a few more group races to come for you before we head to qualifying for TA2. That's local time 5:45. That's your won't is to watch Trans Am. But until then, we've actually, if you are a Trans Am fan, we have got an all-stock car race coming up at 4:45 Florida time. That's Eastern time. So watch out for that. And while we have a break in the action, we'll do the same. We'll take a short break from Sebring. Join us for more SVRA, part of the Speed Tour.